Hi, welcome to the Retirement Railroad Matinee Modeling Tip of the Day. Today, we're going to look at the evolution of one of the most iconic HO locomotives out there. Now, I believe every manufacturer at one time or another has made the EMD F7, okay? A and or B. I mean, every kid, I think, has had an F7 growing up. They're just iconic, especially like the Super Chief, okay, with its ABBA combination. So anyway, out of all the manufacturers, probably the most popular standalone, not other than in a train set itself, but standalone F7 has been the Athearn Blue Box. Okay, and the Athearn Blue Box has gone through numerous generations of upgrades over the last 60 years now. The first generation back in the 1960s that I can remember was the rubber band drive. And I've got a picture of one of those. Not something I'd want to add to my layout in today's day and age. Okay, but back in the day, state of the art. Then they went to a drivetrain type system, double shafts off of the motor, feeding on drive shafts through some U-joints, okay, to the powered trucks. And that's what we have here. Okay? Now, they went a step further. This is probably 1970s. Okay? In the late 70s, early 80s, they improved upon this and they came up with what they called the Super Power series. Primarily the same model, same shell, same frame, same trucks, same motor. But what they did was two things. Okay? They added flywheels onto the motor, both sides. Okay? That gave the model some momentum. All right? It wouldn't jerk necessarily, taking off and stopping. You had better slow motion control of the model. Okay? The other thing they did was they replaced these weights with a saddle weight. I'll show you those here in a minute. Okay. I had, and these are good. They run great. And what we're going to find out is I'm going to upgrade this. I'm going to put a saddle weight on it. I'm going to do away with the incandescent bulb and use this mount, so to speak, where the bulb's mounted. I'm going to modify that, and I'm going to put two LEDs, one for the headlight and one for a Mars light on this. Okay, I'm going to mill out the saddle weight to make room for the decoder. I'm going to add a platform that runs above this truck to put the speaker and capacitor on. All right. And we'll isolate the motor because this is direct contact from the one side of the motor into the frame and back to the rail. So we need to isolate that for the decoder purposes. All right. So, stay tuned. We'll walk through all the process, And hopefully we can, through the motor control settings CVs of the decoder, we can compensate for not having these flywheels and add momentum, all right, to the model through the decoder settings. So stay tuned. Alright, so recently I picked up some passenger cars, Northern Pacific passenger cars, for the beginnings of having the North Shore Limited train that ran from Seattle to Chicago. And in conjunction with that, I found these two F7s, an A unit and a B unit, and then I found another A unit. You've seen the picture of the rubber band drive. These are the next reiteration of Athearn's models. So let me take a look, and I'll show you. Okay, and here we go. We have this F7. All right, and as you can see, it's got these two internal weights. And it's got a good 5-pole motor in these drive shafts, right? Unlike the rubber band power. But it does not have flywheels. Okay? So let me show you what I want to turn it into. All right, here's a motor with flywheels. Now I am not going to install, at least initially, flywheels in these F7s because I want to see, first of all, as I modify this one and get a decoder in it, I want to see if I can adjust the decoder's momentum to compensate for not having flywheels. If I can, then there's no use changing out the motors. If I can't, then I've got a motor. Okay? So let me show you what I've got to do, and I've already started on this one here. Okay? As you can see by wires hanging out of it. Okay. These weights are coming out and going bye-bye. All right? I'll use them as hobby weights for different projects. Now, as you can see, I'm going to put this other one up side by side so you can see. I have already taken the wiring bar. There's a bar that ran across from here, across here, into here, connecting up everything. All right, and I've taken that off of this one. This one, the previous owner had already taken it off and done some direct wiring to, because direct wiring is far superior than contact wiring or contact bus. So then what I've done is I've cut this light bracket, I've cut it down, and I've installed a LED on it already. Now that'll be the lower headlight. I will be installing another one on top, and that'll be the Mars light. Okay? And as I mentioned, I'm not going to put the flywheels on here. I'll adjust the decoder for that instead. Now you can see off the power pickups on the trucks that I've cut them back, and I've also drilled a hole in both pickups. Okay? And why would I do that? It's because solder has a hard time sticking to these pieces of metal, as you can see from here. One has already come off of that one. Okay? So by putting a hole through there, the solder can melt through the hole and hold the wire firmly in place. even though it's going back and forth and up and down all the time. All right. The other thing I have done is I've already removed the motor, okay, and it simply has two motor mounts with two prongs each, and it simply wiggles. It's a press fit, but it comes out, okay. And as you can see, I put a piece of insulating tape down there. I have also cut the prongs. If you look at this other motor, you can see prongs sticking out of that metal right here. I've cut them off of this motor because we have to isolate the motor from the frame. All right, and the original design had these prongs touching the frame as the negative power pickup. Okay, so we've taken that out, isolated it there, and we're ready to start with the decoder installation next. Okay, so before we do that, let me put this part of it back together for now. Okay, I'll get to that. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is these weights that I've took off, okay, I'm going to replace with what Athearn uses for their superpower. All right, one of these big saddle weights, and it'll sit right like this over the motor. But I have to do some milling. I have to cut away this weight. And just to put it in perspective, this is a superpower Athearn F7. Okay. And it's already got a decoder in it. And you can see how the saddle weight, the big saddle weight, has been milled out. All right, see the difference there? So I've got to do some work on this one, and then we'll line it up to look at this. Now the other difference I've changed after working on so many Proto 2000 E8 installations. I really like the fact that there's no wiring attached to the shell on my E8 installations, unlike this F7 where the two lights are mounted into the shell. Okay, thus the reason why I'm modifying this bracket for the lights, so that the shell can be taken off. The other thing about, as long as we're on the shell, if we look at this, you can see there's no lenses in the shell for the headlight or Mars light. What I have done is taken two of these 5mm LED lights, and I have cut off the front tip. Okay. If you look at that, you can see it's flat and not rounded like the normal lens. See the difference there? I've just taken some cutters and cut off that rounded lens and installed those lenses into the shell. Okay? And in that fashion, I don't have to mount these LEDs on the shell, which in turn makes removing the shell, so in the future, for whatever reason may be necessary, maintenance as an example, much, much easier. Okay? So, with that, I'm not going to bore you with me wiring up the decoder and milling out this. I have an electric hacksaw that I will take and cut into this. I will also be adding a platform, right, off of the back of this for the speaker to sit on, and the decoder and capacitor will sit down in the center, and we'll be ready to go. So stay tuned, and I'll show you it when it's complete. Okay, so here we are on the test track. You can see the weight is all milled out. The decoder is ready to be mounted in there. The platform has been attached for the speaker and capacitor. It's all wired up. I just need to do some programming in JMRI. Let's here. You got a bell, you got a whistle, because these decoders come default set up for Steam. So I'll get it into JMRI, program it. I want to set the momentum and play with that a little bit, and before I mount the decoder and put the shell on and have her ready to roll. So stay tuned. I'll move her over. Well, hell, we'll just move her over right now. Alright, and she is on the programming track. Let me get into... Okay, so here we are. Got her on there. We have sound. Okay. Turn the headlight on. Alright. Turn the Mars light on. We have forward. And we have reverse. Okay. Now it's time to mount up the decoder, the speaker, and the capacitor, and get the shell on it, and let's run it in for a while. Stay tuned. Okay, what I've done here is I've added double-sided tape here that the speaker and capacitor will be mounted to, and double-sided tape right here on top of the motor that the decoder will be mounted to. So stay tuned. Okay, so I've taken her around, up and around, and she runs well. She definitely needs to be broke in. You can. She's a little loud, but she's mellowing out the more I run her. But I did want to check the momentum out, remember, because she doesn't have flywheels. And if I can adjust the momentum on the motor controls, acceleration, deceleration, within reason, then I'm not going to add flywheels to it. Okay, so I had one test. Let me get your opinion. All right, it'll be coming around from over here, coming this way. When it gets here, I'll hit the stop button, and you'll be able to see what she does. And stop. That's pretty good. Alright. As good as a flywheel on DC would do. So I'm going to leave it at that. As you can hear, she's a little noisy. I have lubed her up. It'll take some running in. Keep in mind, this kit, although new, was probably manufactured in 1970s. Alright. So it's been sitting in a box for about 50 years. So it needs to be run in, lubed up, and go from there. Lights and everything work. I'm real happy with the installation. This installation is far superior to any of my previous F7 Blue Box installations. Between the way I milled it out, adding the platform for the speaker on the rear, consolidated the wiring, I've mounted the LEDs to a mount on the frame instead of on the shell. So now I can take this shell off. Alright, I can take this shell off and change shells. Alright, make it another railroad. So, I'll take it down here where you can still see. Alright, and like all of these, they simply pull apart side to side, which unclips them, and there you have it. Okay, you can see the two LEDs are right there. Speakers on a platform back here, mounted to the saddle weight that's been milled out for the wiring and for the decoder. And I just got to add couplers to it, run her in, she's good to go. Alright, I want to thank you for joining me here on the Retirement Railroad. Matinee modeling tip of the day. And this is a second generation Athearn Blue Box F7 decoder installation. You know, the only difference between this and the what I'll call the third generation is that the third generation comes with the saddle weight and it comes with flywheels. Okay, I've added the saddle weight, but I didn't add the flywheels because now that there's DCC, you can compensate for the flywheels through the motor control. All right, on the decoder. So, again, thanks for joining me here at the Retirement Railroad. I'm Steve, and y'all have a great day. Bye now. Just as a quick addendum to the tip of the day, I've been running the Northern Pacific F7. Been running it in for about 20 minutes now, and the grinding, scraping metal noise is gone, as you'll be able to hear as she runs by. You just hear the prime mover and the clickety clack. Again, have a great day. Bye.